everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a really fun video, a video that I am very excited about. We are here to see how much I can read in 24 hours. Now, I have done this kind of video before in the past. I will link my playlist up in the cards above. I believe it's my binge reading vlog where I put my 24-hour vlogs, but that challenge was a bit different because I wanted to see how much I could read in a 24-hour span. So like from noon on Tuesday to noon on Wednesday, for instance. Whereas this time around, I set a timer for 24 hours, and anytime I start reading something, I start the timer. Anytime I stop reading, I stop the timer. So I really want to see how much I can get read in exactly 24 hours. So as of right now, I have 22 hours, 56 minutes, and 20 seconds left on my timer because I did read for a little over an hour. Last night I started All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. We need to talk about this cover because it's absolutely beautiful and it just perfectly matches the vibe of this story so far. So I'm like 22% of the way through. I think I got through, you know, a decent chunk in about an hour or so. I listen to audiobooks at about 2.5 times speed, sometimes upwards of that because I'm following along with the ebook version usually, or the physical version when I'm reading at home. But this is a contemporary small town romantic suspense. That's what Catherine Cowles is known for. I have a little bit of a hit or miss relationship with Catherine Cowles. One of her books that I read, it was like Tattered Stars, I believe. I did give 5 stars. I really enjoyed that book. Most everything else I've given 4 stars, and then the last book I had read by her I'd given 3 stars. I really didn't enjoy it all that much, so I've just been putting off reading anything else by her, and she has come out with quite a few books since then. She's come out with like 2 complete series, and then this is the beginning of what I assume is a series, but this is a bit different because it's traditionally published. I believe Source Books is the publisher, and I found the audiobook on Hoopla and the ebook on Kindle Unlimited in case you are interested. But this is about Ridley, our heroine. We see at the beginning of the book that she has a twin sister, but when they were getting ready to graduate from college, her twin sister got abducted and she has no idea where she is or what happened to her. And I believe it's been upwards of like 10 years. Maybe not quite that long, but it's been like years since her sister was abducted. And so now she hosts a true crime podcast, and I cannot remember the name of it, but so she has cracked some cold cases by hosting this podcast. And so what she does is she'll go to the town where the incident or the case is based in, and she'll talk to the locals, and she is, you know, kind of a private investigator trying to find answers for these cold cases. And so this particular cold case that the story is based around may be related to her own twin sister's abduction. So she is especially interested in this, but it was actually a failed abduction. The woman, Emerson, still lives in this small town where Ridley now is. She's hoping to interview her to get some insight as to who this man could have been that tried to abduct her all those years back. Meanwhile, we have Colt, our hero, who is the sheriff of this small town, and he is also Emerson's brother, so he is very protective of her, and he's immediately very suspicious of Ridley. So it's a little bit of like a hate to love kind of vibe. I am really enjoying this so far. I feel like this is a bit more of a unique story than books I've read by Catherine Cowles in the past. I personally feel that she's kind of a formulaic author. Her books aren't all that groundbreaking or anything like that, and not that there's anything wrong with that. And I know that a lot of people love her books, so like, please know I'm not personally attacking you by critiquing her works, but I'm just telling you what I've noticed about her books. So all of that being said though, I'm really hoping that I end up loving this because I would like to really enjoy her books. Anytime I pick up a book, it's usually because I want to love it. I want to give it 5 stars, right? So at the moment it's a 4-star read, but I'm only 22% of the way through. So that could very well change. I definitely am planning on reading more of this throughout the rest of the today. Today is Monday, January 20th. The next few days are going to be insane here. I live in South Louisiana, specifically really close to New Orleans. We are getting a literal snowstorm tomorrow, like an actual snowstorm, which has never happened in my lifetime. And I saw somewhere on the news that this is going to rival the Gulf Coast snowstorm of 1895. What is even happening right now? We have gotten snow in the past, but it's always been like a dusting. Never accumulation, never anything like that. So the fact that we're getting like at least 5 inches of snow, I'm definitely worried. I'm definitely a bit scared. So that's also why I'm doing this vlog, as a way to escape and to distract myself from what's going to be happening outside tomorrow. Definitely worried about losing power for an extended period of time. I've taken all precautions in terms of wrapping pipes and, you know, keeping a drip going out of multiple faucets in my house, so that hopefully a pipe doesn't burst. But yes, so that is happening. I'll probably get some B-roll tomorrow of snow, because like I have a feeling that's going to be insane tomorrow. But anyways, I do have a stack here of some books that I'm interested in reading throughout this 24 hours. First of all, we have Full Metal Alchemist. I've gotten back into reading this series. I'd read the first 12 volumes back in like 2022 into 2023, and then I just stopped. I think I burned myself out on the series. I was trying to read like way too many volumes at once, and this is a pretty complex and complicated story, and so I really think that's what it was. I burned myself out, and then I didn't pick it up for over a year. So I started rereading the first 12 volumes at the beginning of this month. So I am now up to volume 5. I've reread the first 5 volumes. I'm now on volume 6. So I'm hoping to at least read volume 6 during this 24-hour span. I might even read volume 7 if I'm feeling up to it, but this time around, I'm really trying to make sure that I don't burn myself out on this. But if you know nothing about Full Metal Alchemist, by the way, there is a fantastic anime series called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood that is a very close adaptation to the manga series, if you're curious. But this is all about alchemy, which is a cross between science and magic. We have our 2 main characters. They are not pictured here. Let me see if I can find some pictures of them. But basically this series centers around Edward Elric, who is pictured here, and then Alphonse, who is pictured here. And here, as you can see, he looks like a suit of armor. So basically when they were a lot younger, I believe like 4 years before this story starts, they tried to resurrect their mother, who passed away from an illness, using alchemy. And that's like the biggest taboo. You cannot use alchemy to transmute or to alter humans. And so that went horribly, horribly wrong, to the point where Alphonse lost his entire body. Edward lost an arm and a leg, and out of desperation, Edward bonded Alphonse's soul to that suit of armor that I showed you. And so now they are just trying to find a way to get back their regular bodies. And there's some very interesting villains getting in their way. This is an incredible series. Like, it just is. It's just such an amazing and well-rounded story. I'll probably talk more about it when and if I read a volume of it in this vlog, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up. I'm also interested in rereading the Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is an incredible science fiction trilogy that uses like multimedia. Like, we have emails, we have let's see, like transcriptions of conversations that are heard over audio. We even have things like drawings and things like that. Basic synopsis, I'm just gonna read it off the bat because it's been such a long time since I read this series. Like 2019, I believe, is when I read this. But the year is 2575, and 2 rival mega corporations are at war over a planet that's little more than an ice-covered speck. Now, with enemy fire raining down on them, exes Katie and Ezra, who are barely talking to each other, are forced to escape on the evacuating fleet. This story, especially this first book, from what I recall, focused a lot on this AI known as Aiden and how it controls the ship that they're on. And I feel like this is just very timely to be reading about scary AI, given what is going on in our own world and culture and all of that. But yeah, this is an incredible series, and absolutely phenomenal series of audiobooks too. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking I'm in the mood for this at the moment. And then finally we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. I definitely need to jump into this since I reread The Stolen Heir, which is the first book in this duology, at the very beginning of the month. So I want to make sure that I read this book while I'm still fresh on that previous book. This is in the Elfame world. The original trilogy is the Cruel Prince trilogy, which is one of my favorite series of all time, and then this is a companion duology basically about different characters, though we do hear about Jude and Cardan, who were the main characters of that trilogy. So yeah, that's gonna be it for now. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right on back into All the Missing Pieces and I don't know, maybe something else, and then I will talk to you guys once I have read some more. All right, hey everyone, so it is about midnight, so it's now officially Tuesday, the day of the snowstorm. We are gonna get snow starting at 8 a.m. I believe. But anyways, I have 20 hours and 37 seconds. I don't know how well you'll see that, but 20 hours and 37 seconds left of this 24-hour reading challenge. And in those 4 hours, I read the entirety of All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. I definitely really enjoyed this one. I think that this is the best quality book of hers that I've read, which would make sense because this is her most recent book. I do have two little gripes about this book. One, we hear a lot about this podcast that Ridley, our main character, is making episodes of throughout the book, and I just wish that Catherine Cowles would have gone that extra mile and included snippets from episodes, and then the audiobook producer could have you know, put in some music and like, you know, made it feel like a real podcast like I have read in other books. Like, I really think that that could have elevated this book even more. Also, I guess who the villain was pretty early on in the book. So like, you know, that plot twist was not a plot twist for me, but yeah, so this was really good. I definitely would continue on with this series when the next book comes out. Like, this book just came out though, so that next book probably won't come out for, I don't know, maybe a year or something like that. But the way that they set up what I assume is going to be the next romance in this series, I'm very interested for sure. So yeah, this took me 4 hours to read, like I said, and the audiobook is 11 hours. That is a very good reading pace. I was listening to this at about 3 times speed while following along with the ebook version. So let's talk about my TBR going forward, because it's changed a little bit. I definitely am going to jump into volume 6 of Full Metal Alchemist. I'm probably gonna read this now once I'm done updating you guys. Really excited to jump back into this world. I read volume 5 maybe like Thursday, Friday, I don't know, it's been a few days, so now I'm craving another volume. I might even read volume 7 as well during this 24-hour period. I find that manga and graphic novels, comics, things like that are a really great thing to read to avoid getting burnt out on a challenge like this. So yes, very excited about that. I am gonna swap out Illuminae for At First Spite by Olivia Dade. I've heard amazing things about this book, and from what I understand from what people have said about this book, I'm going to relate to the heroine a lot. I'll get into the plot once I start reading it, but it's like a hate to love vibe, but there's also some really good caretaking from what I understand, and some good depression representation, and of course plus size representation, so that sounds great. Plus I haven't read an Olivia Dade book in a really long time. I read her like Christmassy novella back in December, but that wasn't much of anything. But I haven't read like a full-length novel from her in at least a couple of years. So very excited for this. And then I definitely will at least start Prisoner's Throne. I'm really excited because I just got the audiobook just came in on my Libby app, my library app. And then I borrowed the ebook for My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I don't know how well you'll see this cover, but when I actually start the book, I'll put a better, you know, picture up here. But I'm really excited about reading this book. After recently watching a YouTube video that I will absolutely link either up in the cards or down in the description below, that made some comparisons between Sex and the City and this book. So I'm very, very intrigued and looking forward to it. Plus the audiobook is only like 7 hours, I believe, so I'll probably fly through that. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go jump into Full Metal Alchemist and I'll update you guys once I've done some more reading. Wow. What a day it has been, and I have not left my house. Today was crazy. Like, it finally just stopped snowing like maybe 30 minutes ago. So it's been snowing for like 10 hours, and the area around my house looks completely unrecognizable. And as you saw from those B-roll clips that I'm gonna insert, like, yeah, it's just pure insanity. I never thought I would see this in South Louisiana. I do have some things to talk about. I did read volume 6 of Full Metal Alchemist last night. By the way, I now have 16 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds left of my 24-hour challenge. So I did read, I think, for about like 3 hours today, maybe a little less than 3 hours or 2 hours. I haven't read too much today, but last night I did read volume 6 of Full Metal Alchemist, thus finishing this omnibus. This is a bind up of volumes 4, 5, and 6, and I loved it. This volume, we get like the full backstory of how Edward and Alphonse tried to bring their mother back to life using alchemy, and so it's definitely a devastating volume. There are a lot of devastating things happening in this series, and we're only on, you know, volume 6. Hiromu Arakawa definitely did not pull any punches with this series, but it is just such an amazing, well-rounded story. I'm just in awe of everything that is going on in this. It's just so good because we have Edward and Alphonse, their brotherly relationship, you know, at the core of this series. I definitely don't think this series would be amazing as it is if not for how much they love each other and how devoted they are to each other as brothers. And I love the action sequences, like how alchemy is incorporated into the combat in this series, and just the alchemy in general, and the story, the characters, the intrigue, the mystery. Like, I truly think there's something for everyone in this series. Even if you are someone that doesn't think they like manga, I would still recommend at least reading the first 2 volumes, because the first volume is very episodic and just gives you a taste of what this series has to offer, whereas volume 2 actually gets into the story. So incredible. I also started The Prisoner's Throne last night. I read the first 50 pages and then I read another 50 pages today. This is the second book in the Stolen Heir duet or duology. We are centering around Prince Oak, who is the younger brother of Jude, who's one of the main characters of the main Cruel Prince trilogy. And then we're also following Surin, our other main character. She was mentioned in The Queen of Nothing, which is book 3 of the Cruel Prince trilogy. I definitely noticed her when I was rereading those books. But yes, they're the 2 main characters. Stolen Heir is mainly about this quest that Oak is on, and he needs Surin's help. So they're going on this quest together. This is a very different story for sure, but I'm already loving it so much more than The Stolen Heir. I found myself getting not like bored with The Stolen Heir, but I found it to be more tedious and more of a chore to get through. Whereas this one, in the first 100 pages, I just feel like my reading pace is so much faster and I'm just so much more interested in what's going on and what's going to happen. I'm about 28% of the way through. I'm on chapter 8. That is page 100 exactly. So I definitely will read at least like 50 more pages of this at some point tonight. We'll see how much I get through before the end of the challenge. Then I also started My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I think that's how the author's name is pronounced. I need to look that up for myself. But I decided to read this book because I was watching a YouTube video. Her channel is called Broe de Chanel, and she has these incredible commentary videos. And so one video of hers that I watched in particular is commentary on Sex and the City, the HBO series, as well as the late 90s in general, like the culture, the type of capitalism that was going on, the type of post-feminism that we had going on, and how that applied to Sex and the City. At some point in this video, she brings up this book and makes some very interesting comparisons between this book and Sex and the City. And so, yeah, I just decided to pick this up. Even though I've heard very mixed reviews about this for sure. I know some people that it just really worked for them. They really loved it. And I know quite a few people that gave this like 1 star. So you gotta love a polarizing book, right? I'm just now realizing I don't think the main character has a name or is named in the book. At least so far. Okay, that's really interesting. Okay, but this takes place in 2000 specifically. And she is a very privileged white woman living in the Upper East Side in New York City. And she has decided to hibernate, to sleep as much as possible for a year, so that hopefully when she comes out of it, she will almost be like a new person and she will be much happier in her life. So this book is definitely a lot about depression for sure. That's definitely what this main character is going through, but it's also just this numbness, which goes hand in hand with depression for sure. And as someone who has gone through depression, reading this book, it's like I feel seen, but it's like it hits very close to home at the same time, though there are very few similarities between me and this main character. I mean, she's purposefully unlikable. I should put out there, this is satire. This is meant to be a dark comedy. It's not gonna work for everyone, but it really is working for me. I'm kind of obsessed. I really am. And Julia Whalen is the audiobook narrator. She's one of the best narrators ever in my opinion, and she's doing a fantastic job with this so far. I'm like 30-ish% of the way through, and I'm just really liking the vibe, really liking it. There have been moments where I have laughed out loud. So clearly the comedy is working for me, and I have 5 hours left of the audiobook. So I may very well finish this tonight. And sprinkle in some like Full Metal Alchemist, some Prisoner's Throne. Might even start something else, you know? Keep things interesting. I can't believe that I have as much time left on this challenge as I do. I really thought that these 24 hours would go quicker than they are. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy how much time 24 hours actually is when doing this challenge in this way. With that being said, I'm probably gonna take a little bit of a break from reading. Might eat some dinner. It's like 6 now, so I probably should. But yeah, I'll just give you guys another update once I've read for a few more hours. Cherry Coke Zero is what's up, my dudes. Hello, I am back for another update on this vlog. I now have 8 hours, 18 minutes, and 29 seconds left of this vlog, and I really thought I would be done by now. I really thought that I would have done 24 hours of reading by now. Today's Thursday, and I started this challenge on Monday. Actually, technically late Sunday night, but yeah, I really thought I would have read for 24 hours by now, but that just goes to show myself and you guys how much time I actually spend reading. I always assumed that on my days off, I spent like a good 8 hours per day off reading, and like clearly that's not the case. So interesting, very interesting. I have read a lot of things though since my last update. I don't even know like when I did my last update. Was it when I had 16 hours left? I did read volume 7 of Full Metal Alchemist the night before last. I'll probably read volume 8 at some point today. I am just vibing with this reread of the first 12 volumes, and I'm so excited to get to a part of the story that I haven't read yet. So that'll be soon, because like I said, first time I read this series, I got up to volume 12. Oh, this series is so good. It's just so good. Like, even if you're someone who thinks they don't like manga, try it out. Okay, thanks, bye. I also finished My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I know I did talk about this in my last update. I read this in a span of a few hours. Not yesterday, but the day before? Yeah, because it was like a 7-hour audiobook. I flew through it. And so something I did want to bring up is that, and some people might view this as a spoiler, so like maybe skip a few seconds. I feel like you should know going in that this book ends with the main character's reaction to 9/11. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing that up is of course because that's obviously triggering to a lot of people to read anything about. Though in the context of this book, it's not like she sees it happen or that we see her see it on page, you know what I mean? It's more like her reaction in the aftermath. That YouTube video I was telling you guys about, where that YouTuber was talking about late 90s culture and how it applies to Sex and the City. So what is brought up in that video is that 9/11 was a huge wake-up call in more ways than you would think to our culture, both as a country, as the US, and then as the world. And that like late 90s numbness I was telling you guys about. And like, that's truly what this book depicts, is that late 90s numbness amongst the elite in New York City. And that's also what occurs in the first couple of seasons of Sex and the City. Basically, you'll notice that the storylines in the first couple seasons of Sex and the City are just more surface level and more about sex in a lot of ways, whereas post 9/11 we get storylines that are so much more emotional. They have so much more depth to them, and I think that that is just so fascinating. I don't even know if that was on purpose by the people who wrote that show, but yeah, I just find it interesting that that whole idea of this like wake-up call in 9/11 also applies to this book. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I definitely think it does a fantastic job of both being a satire and a dark comedy, but also depicting depression, and especially a type of depression where like all you want to do is sleep all the time. Like, I can definitely relate to that. When I feel depressed, all I want to do is sleep and cry. Like, I don't want to do anything else, and that is definitely, you know, what's going on here. Though obviously this is more unhinged and satirical, you know, her wanting to sleep through a whole year and all of that, but there are concepts and themes in this that are also very real and relatable. So it's crazy, like reading this, I felt like I was like in this numb fever dream, but it also felt, like I said, very real and relatable. And so when I finished this, and by the way, the very end, like, wow, I will be thinking about that end for a long time. The way that the main character reacted to 9/11, like, it was just so interesting. I don't know, just so interesting. But yeah, after I finished this, I just like sat there on my couch right over there for like a good 5 minutes and just stared into space. I was in a daze. Like, I did not know what to do with myself. So yeah, I mean, when a book can affect me that deeply, that's when I know that I really enjoyed it or that it was really impactful. Yeah, but at the same time, it's not necessarily like an all-time favorite. I didn't give it 5 stars, but I do see the genius in what this book has to offer. I also read the entirety of Annie Bot by, I think it's Sierra Greer is the author. I was influenced to read this by Chandler from Chandler Ainsley. And this is a book about an AI android named Annie, and her relationship, her emotionally abusive relationship with her human owner named Doug. And this book has a lot to say about womanhood and autonomy and abusive relationships. This definitely made me feel really uneasy at times reading, given the things that Doug says and does to Annie. But what's so compelling about this book is seeing Annie become more and more human with the emotions and the feelings that she's feeling, and her coming to terms with how abusive this relationship is and trying to get out and all of those things. I definitely think that this could be a very triggering book to read for some people. Definitely look up the full content warnings. This book is rough at times, absolutely. But I do think it was very well written. I really enjoyed the social commentary, the themes. I think this is a very timely book to read, not only because of the progression of AI, the rapid progression of AI that we're seeing in our culture and society, but also the challenges and changes that women are now facing, specifically in the US with the new administration, and, you know, just body autonomy in general. And yeah, so this book was definitely very, very unsettling. Like, to me, it felt borderline horror at times because of that, but it was also just really well done. And I really, really enjoyed Annie, our main character. Yeah, like, I've never read a book like this where it's centered on the AI. The AI wasn't a villain, and it was all about her journey, like her self-discovery and like her becoming more and more human. In that way, it actually reminds me a little bit of Barbie, of the Barbie movie, like how, you know, Margot Robbie's character becomes more and more human, right? But yeah, so I gave this 4 stars as well. Really enjoyed it. Also, I am now like 56% of the way through Prisoner's Throne. Definitely gonna finish this today. I have 5 hours left of the audiobook. I'm on page 197, chapter 15. Liking this, not loving this. I do think this is better paced than The Stolen Heir. My gripe that I'm realizing as I'm reading this is that this book is entirely from Oak's POV, and The Stolen Heir was entirely from Ren's POV, and I just really wish we would get some of Ren's POV in this. I want to know what she's thinking, because she's such a cold character on the outside. She's very guarded, and for very good reasons. And I feel like in The Stolen Heir, I got to know her and I got to kind of love her. And now that we're in Oak's POV, like, I'm just not getting that same kind of feeling about Ren. But at the same time, I like being in Oak's POV. I like him as a character, but I like Ren more. So I'm missing her perspective. So yeah, definitely gonna finish this today. I realized that I had read like I've been reading like 4 or 5 non-romance books in a row. And I've definitely been missing romance in my life. Some of these books have made me quite sad. So I did go ahead and jump into the beginning of When a Duke Loves a Woman by Lorraine Heath, and I'm really loving this right away. I am on page 44, chapter 4, and I can already tell you this is probably going to be a 5-star read. This is book 2 in her Sins for All Seasons series. This one is about Gilly, who is a tavern owner, and she sees this man getting beat up and robbed in the street near her tavern. And so she saves his life, like quite literally saves his life, brings him to her home, calls a doctor for him, and is taking care of him until he can get back on his feet. And I'm just really enjoying how Gilly is coming to terms with these feelings and desires that she's having for this man that she's taken care of, and she's never had feelings like this for anyone, let alone a man. She's always been very wary of men, especially with the type of life that she's living. She's seen the worst of what men can do. And so I'm just really loving this, but I know I'm gonna love it more once our hero Thorn recovers from his injuries and they can actually start bantering and, you know, bonding and falling for each other and all those things. This cover though is everything. Everything. All right, I'm gonna stop yapping. I've been talking for 13 minutes. I need to go read. I need to go finish The Prisoner's Throne, and I need to finish this 24-hour challenge. All right, my dudes. I am done with this 24-hour reading challenge. And I'm currently very exhausted because I didn't get much sleep last night, had to be up kind of early to get to work. And then throughout the day today, I've been listening to an audiobook, and I'll get to that in a minute. So that ate up some of what I had left time-wise of this challenge. I think I had something like 2.5 hours left of this 24-hour challenge today. So I was listening to an audiobook while going to and from work, and then I got home from work at about like, I don't know, 8:30, had to take a shower, Started reading some more of the book that I'm currently reading, and then my sister FaceTimed me. That took a couple of hours, and so yeah, just got off the phone with her a little while ago and then finished up this challenge, and it's now almost 2 a.m. and I am absolutely exhausted. Also, I have some happy mail. I have a bit of a book haul here. So I got my pre-order copy of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Look at this shiny, shiny cover, and look at these sprayed edges. I am absolutely obsessed because I pre-ordered the deluxe edition on Amazon. And so I finally got it today because they were able to start delivering mail again today after the snowstorm. And so yeah, very excited. But you may be asking yourself, has Rachel read Fourth Wing? The answer to that question is no, I have not. But I am planning on doing a reading vlog where I read Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. I'm gonna binge these first 3 books of the series and document my experience with you guys. I probably won't start making that vlog for a little while because I wanna wait until the graphic audiobooks are out for this book, which isn't gonna be until April and May because they're splitting that book up into 2 audiobooks. And then I got my Book of the Month box for January. I am not sponsored by Book of the Month, but I wish that I was. I say that every time I bring up Book of the Month. But my pick for January is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I have read a book by this author before, really, really enjoyed it. It was a thriller called They Never Learn, which that is like promising young woman vibes. Serpentine Valentine gave me vibes of They Never Learn because They Never Learn also has a sapphic romance in addition to like the dark academia and the revenge and vigilantism and all that stuff that's present in both books. And I'm very excited about this book because, as you can see from the cover, it is about figure skating and it just sounds so good. I've heard really good things about it. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of tea in this book along with figure skating, and very excited about that. Then I also did do an add-on this month and I got The Seventh Veil of Salome by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Truly one of the most stunning covers I've like ever seen. Like, this is gorgeous. This is about our main character Salome. This takes place in 1950s Hollywood. Ooh, this is definitely giving Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes for sure, just from like glancing at the synopsis. But yeah, it's about Salome and like her rivalry with another actress in the 50s in Hollywood, and like that also sounds amazing. I've read Mexican Gothic by this author, which is a very different story. That is historical horror, Gothic horror. And I love that book so much. So very, very excited for that. So I just cannot stop looking at these sprayed edges. Like, and they're even more stunning in person. I need to get on it and start this series. But okay, so what have I read since talking to you people? I can tell you that I read a couple more volumes of Full Metal Alchemist. I might have updated you guys after reading volume 7, but I have now since read volume 8 and I'm in the middle of reading volume 9. Can't stop, won't stop with the series. Like truly, like this is my personality at the moment. Hey guys, this is future Rachel coming to you. What should be editing Rachel, but is not, because I know that I will not have time to edit this video for at least a few days after filming it. But I realized that I never gave a final update about The Prisoner's Throne. So there's that. I overall liked this book. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, just like I did with The Stolen Heir. I still missed Ren's POV for sure, as much as I enjoy Oak's character and how much this book really delved into his character. Like, I really did miss Ren. I loved how Jude and Carden were incorporated back into the story. I mean, I'm always gonna love when they're on page. I'm always gonna eat that up. And I did see towards the end of this book that there's definitely a setup for future books in this world, in this series. But after reading this duet, I think I'm personally done with Elfame. I feel like this was a good place for me to stop. Because it's like, on the one hand, I did like seeing another storyline past what we got in the Cruel Prince trilogy. But at the same time, I just didn't love this duet nearly as much as the trilogy. And it just makes me sad because I love this world and these characters so much. It just has such a unique Morley Gray feel to it. And I love how Holly Black writes this world of Elfame. I truly do. But I'm just not loving the books anymore or the storylines. And the storyline that was set up at the end of this, which would feature Jude and Cardan, I was just like, okay. Like, I'm not excited about that. I don't think there's going to be very high stakes with that storyline. Like, I don't know. I'm not sold. So I think I'm good with Elfame. So yeah, that's going to be it. Back to past Rachel. I'm also in the middle of a couple of books. So I literally have read like one chapter of this since last talking to y'all. I really think that I'm just not in the historical romance mood at the moment. That's why I haven't read more of this, because I'm genuinely enjoying it. I'm really loving the dynamic between Thorn and Gilly. I adore Gilly as a main character. She's very relatable because she's very tall. I'm also a very tall woman. I am 5'10", and I just like really relate to her talking about how she doesn't feel very feminine. She doesn't feel like a woman, but when she's around Thorn, she does feel feminine, and she is feeling feelings for this man. So yeah, I'm on chapter 5 of this. I will pick this back up again really soon, probably this weekend. But the book that I have really been devouring is At First Spite by Olivia Dade. This is yet another recommendation from Chandler Ainsley. And I have to say, this recommendation is spot on. As much as I enjoyed Antibot, which was my other recommendation that I got from Chandler recently, this is so fucking good. Oh my God. I am already 50% through this. I'm on page 188, that is chapter 11, and I'm obsessed. So I've read from Olivia Dade before. I've read a couple of her indie published books. I've also read the first 2 books in her, I cannot remember what that series is called. And now I can't even remember the titles, but her previous series before she published this one. Loved some of her books. I've given a couple of them 5 stars, like truly great contemporary romances with a plus size heroine. So good. And this is even more amazing. Like this, I can tell you right now, is gonna be my favorite book that I've read by her. I'm absolutely obsessed. This is about Athena, our main character. She is engaged to this man, Johnny, who is Matthew's brother. So Johnny is not the hero of the story. Matthew is the hero of the story. At the beginning, Athena is engaged to Johnny, but Matthew convinces Johnny to break their engagement and to dump Athena because he doesn't think that they should be together. He basically thinks that she's a mess, a hot mess, and isn't a responsible person, and blah, blah, blah. And basically Athena overhears Matthew disparaging her character to Johnny at their engagement party. And so things go on from there, and she hates his guts now, but now they are next door neighbors and they are starting to feel some things for each other, but there is like so much angst between these two. And this is also kind of a darker story because Athena's dealing with depression, really, at the end of the day. But at the same time, there are some really fun rom-com-y moments, like really funny scenes in this as well. Because basically Athena decides to just annoy the shit out of Matthew to get back at him for what he's done to her life, for making Johnny break up with her, etc. And so one of the things that she does is like listens to erotic audiobooks at like full blast to make sure that he can hear them too, because like I said, they're next door neighbors, and a lot of the time they both have their windows open. And so yeah, like just some fun scenes like that. There was also a really great scene where they were at this used bookshop together. Now that he's come to know her, he understands that she really is an amazing person and she's not a hot mess. And he is falling for her. He definitely is starting to fall for her. And I just got to a point in the story where Athena realizes that he is not an asshole. He is not a piece of shit. He's actually a wonderful man. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm loving this kind of back and forth going on, and I feel like we're finally getting to a point where their romantic development is gonna start revving up, and I'm very, very excited for that. I think that's it though. This is the stack of books that I read or am reading that I own physically. So over the course of this 24-hour period, I have read a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books, and then I'm in the middle of 3 more. So that is amazing. I am so glad that I did this challenge, because it's just so interesting to see how much I can actually read in a 24-hour span of time. I definitely will do something like this at some point in the future, but I am a little burnt out on vlogging at the moment. Just being real with you guys, because I've been vlogging kind of back to back to back, because I did 2 vlogs for Vlogmas, you know, so I vlogged all of December, and then I did a vlog last week for Historical Romance Readathon, for the Rake Meets Blue Stocking Readathon, and then vlogging this week for this challenge. So I definitely am going to take a little break from vlogging, but like I said, definitely going to vlog my experience with this series. I also want to get into my Brandon Sanderson era, and I think I'm going to vlog that as well. So fun content coming from me soon. I also need to film some sit down videos soon, like my January wrap up once January is over. And then I also want to film a video about all of the series that I completed in 2024. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. And I would love it if you would leave a comment and subscribe and leave a like and all of those things. And I thank you so much in advance if you do. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.